Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and Merry Christmas. It's Steve with Sensidalium. I figured to do a movie review real quick on the movie. I think it's Joyeux, Noël. Forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that right. It's French. I'm assuming it's French, but it means Merry Christmas. It's that movie that's out on. It's been out. It was made in 2005, to be exact. Yes, November 2005. It's about the Christmas truce in December 1914. Now, it's a fictional account of the actual event that took place when Wilhelm, German crown prince, sent the lead singer of the Berlin Imperial Opera Company on a solo visit to the front line. And in that, he sung the singing by the tenor Walter Kirchhoff to the 120th, 124th Württemberg regiments led French troops in their trenches to stand up and applaud. And in the movie, it shows that it was the Scottish that got up and applaud from the actor portraying uh, Walter. It was a different actor. But anyway, the story centers on six main characters, really. Gordon is the lieutenant of the Royal Scots. Audibert, the French lieutenant in the 26th Infantry and reluctant son of a general, who you see right off the bat when the stars he starts throwing up before he leads the troops to a base. He gets half, no, well, he says a third of his troops killed. Horstmeyer, he's a Jewish German lieutenant of the 93rd Infantry. Father Palmer, a Scottish priest working as a chaplain and stretch bearer, and two famous opera stars, German tenor Nicholas Sprink, whose character is portrayed was supposed to be Walter Kirchhoff, and his Danish fiancée Anna Sorensen. And it's telling at the beginning of the movie. It shows the propaganda that you see in modern not war movies, but just wartime. The film starts off with scenes of schoolboys reciting patriotic speeches that both praise their countries and condemn the enemies. I mean, there's one, I think it was the German, that talks about how the biggest enemy in the world is the English. Yeah, if you see the movie, it starts out with those three, and it's all in subtitle for non-English. But if you watch it on Amazon, English is there, you can hear it, and then obviously it's subtitled in English. And immediately it goes to Scotland, where you see Father Palmer. He's looking at, I can't remember. I think he's looking at the statue of Our Lady holding the Christ child, and Jonathan, who's helping out in the sacristy, looks like, when his brother, is William, comes running in and says we're going to war, and they get all excited, join the fight. It says William says something about now our lives could mean something, and I thought it was telling when he opens the door. William busts through, and inside you got. I mean, it's very quiet. Candles are burning, and then when he busts through the door, all the candles go out. And Father Palmer looks at the last part of the steam raising up, and he kind of looks teary-eyed. And you don't know he's joining the fight, but he ends up going. He didn't say a word during the whole thing. Both the kids ended up busting out the door and leaving. And then it goes over to Sprink, who's about to do a performance when a German officer comes in and announces a reserve call-up. And it's a pretty good speech that the officer does. I mean, very God-centered, really, if you listen to it. Then immediately cuts over to the French soldier, Audibert, who's looking at a photograph of his pregnant wife. He doesn't even know he has what the kid is, yet male or female. You hear about that towards the end of the movie. And they do it. They go right into the assault on the German lines. William falls. That's the kid. He ends up looking like he's looking right at him. And that does a number on Jonathan. You'll see in the rest of the movie. But so Anna gets Nicholas to get called back from the front lines to where the Germans are basically stationed at their HQ, which ended up being somebody's house in the movie. They looked like they pushed the French family in the basement, and he's not so happy. But the wife tells her where Nicholas is staying. So they perform for the prince, William. Crown Prince Wilhelm, and then Sprink is allowed to accompany her. They spend the night together, which at that point is when you can fast forward just for about 2 minutes. It gets the only part when you look on the thing, it says duty I didn't see it. Shows their back, shows the back of her. So if you're worried about anything and you can tell what's about to go on, go ahead and fast forward to this point. It's the only part you really need to fast forward is language. Language in the movie's not bad, not bad at all. I mean, I don't think there was a curse word in there. And yeah, that was the only other scene. It's not like it's a porn or anything, but you get the idea. If you want to watch with the family, you don't want to, and just fast forward right through that. You'll see it. She walks in the room. He's sitting there by the fire. The next scene is, I think there's shoes on the ground, and then it goes to the bed. So just fast forward through that for about a minute. You'll be good, and it immediately goes right back to the front lines after that. And during the performance, Nicholas, who's awesome singer, he ends up coughing right at the beginning. So it takes her to help him out to get him going because he's been away from singing so long. Basically, he's at the front lines and he's smoking. It shows that in the scene that he's smoking, and she goes, "I didn't know you were a smoker," because everyone smokes in the front. It ways to get rid of time. So he's talking about going back to the front line, because he just feels guilty that he's leaving the troops and wants to do something for them. So and she wants to go with him, and he tries to talk her out of it. And guys, you never win that conversation. So she ended up going with him. So that night, the Scots begin to sing festive songs and songs of home accompanied with bagpipes. Apparently all have bagpipes in the trenches. I don't know where they put them. And so Sprink and Sorensen arrive at the German front line, and Sprink sings for his comrades. Actually, he gets there, and they're right at the end of the Scots singing, which was "Dreaming of Home." I'm dreaming of home, and you hear one of the Scots asking for, like, hit you up on the request line. He asked the priest, it was Father Palmer that started it. And then Sprink and Sorensen arrive, and he says something. Wow, they're having so much fun over there, aren't they? And he starts telling the colonel that he's going to sing. What's some songs going to hurt, basically. So he starts singing Silent Night, and you hear the bagpipes started about a minute into the song from the Scots, because the Scots can hear him, and Father Palmer looks like he's misting up a little bit, gets into the spirit, and starts playing the bagpipes to it. And Nicholas stops, pauses, and he's shocked in a good way, and finishes the song. And then he comes up, kind of like stands up at the end of it. He's standing up on top of the trench almost. Everyone's kind of worried about him, but all the Scots are hopping over the trench right now and listening, and they applaud after he gets done. And so Nicholas gets this little wild hair in him and takes a Christmas tree. The HQ decided to send the front a ton of Christmas trees. It says something like every 5 feet. I think it was 100,000 that they say in the movie. To the front, and they're putting it out, because earlier the lieutenant goes, "Whose crazy idea was this?" Anyway, Nicholas picks up the tree and starts walking over to the Scots singing Adeste Fidelis. And after that, the lieutenant, not lieutenant, the lieutenant comes out. His lieutenant comes out going, "This isn't Berlin," and his response back was, "This is better than Berlin." So everyone gets together, all the leaders of the respective groups get together, and they talk about a truce for tonight, saying the war is not going to be won tonight. So everyone gets out, meets in no man's land, and they exchange photos. There's a scene when one of the Germans gives the French guy some chocolate, and the French one tells him, "You got to eat it first." And so he takes a bite and then hands him the champagne. And so everyone's drinking, hanging out, talking, showing pictures of their wives to each other. It was very good. It was a very good scene. And going back, everyone says goodnight. The next day they get together. They say, we were thinking about, since it's Christmas, why not keep the truce and everyone help bury the dead? And so everyone gets together and gives the bodies back to the other, and they help bury the dead for everyone. And Father Palmer's out there giving last rites to really anybody. Oh, and before that, before they say goodnight, I forgot about that. Everyone gets together, and then Father Palmer puts up a makeshift cross and celebrates a mass, quote unquote. It wasn't exactly, he did, they do it, in Nomine Patre Fili. So he starts that, and you're kind of like shocked for a second, because you go, wow, at least in, 2005 when they came out with it, they knew that we use Latin. And even though that I've seen other movies like this that they do it the wrong way, they'll use Latin, but they don't know how the rubrics are or anything like this. This is kind of what that was. he was facing the crowd, but he was, and everyone responded back. The Germans, the French, Scots, everyone responded back at Conspirator 2.0, and the responses you hear, they're all united as one. And you notice Jonathan who was with the priest at the beginning of the movie, is now off hugging his brother, who he still can't. He's devastated with. If you didn't know what's going on right now, you might think it was actually a gay scene, because he's literally hugging on there, almost spooning with him. Gave him a kiss on the lips earlier, but it was his brother. He was really close to his brother, it looks like, I guess. I'm not that close to my brother to do that. Sorry, Mike. But he's out, and he's just mad as anything. One of the guys, I think it was German, comes up to him and says, "Hey, you're not the pious type either. Would you like to drink? Come over here." Jonathan kind of walks towards him like he was ready to punch him, and so the soldier just walked away, kind of like, "Oh, I'm gonna leave this guy alone." So Jonathan's now lost. You see his character is going downhill fast, but he celebrates in Latin, the mass. All the soldiers sing together, even the German lieutenant, and so then everybody goes back to sleep. And the next day they do the burial, which one of the Scots goes, "Oh, burying the dead on the day Christ was born." No, makes sense. And after that, they ended up playing soccer, hanging out, playing cards. You see it, when you see the photos, if you look up Christmas Truce, they started doing that. So one of the guys gives I can't remember who they gave it to, the letters everyone gets their letters together, and I think it was they were going to give it to Anna. They were going to give it to her to give it to mail out, because they didn't trust the postmasters for the army, which ended up, you'll see later, that they go through all the letters, and that's how they found out about the fraternization and everyone liking each other, because they were writing notes stuff back home. Some people praising, "Hey, how am I going to shoot this guy anymore? How are we going to fight these guys? Because now we got so much in common. We exchanged addresses. We're going to hang out after the war is over." We showed the wife. We showed the kids. And then you'll see some guys goes, "I'm not drinking with those bastards ever in my life. I can't believe these guys are hanging out." So you get letters of both people, both sides in that. So all the officers, the higher ups, get a hold of it. As some people would say, the powers that shouldn't be get upset about this, because their guys aren't killing anybody. They're just hanging out and drinking and playing around at the front line. And one scene is the German comes over to the French and say, "You got about 10 minutes, and our guys are going to start shelling your bunker. Get out of the trench. Come over and hang out at ours." And they all look at each other, and 10 minutes later, their trench is now getting shelled. And the German looks at the French, because of the ordnance, and the Scot going, "I think it's over now." And he goes, "Nah, it's if anything, our boys are going to be dropping it on your trench next." So everyone jumps from that trench to the other trench that just got bombed, and here comes the bombing. So that was kind of comical, as everyone, "All right, come on over." So towards the end of the day, Nicholas is told, because they said that he deserted I guess he deserted HQ to go back to the war, which I don't know how that made any sense for them to call him a deserter. So they're going to arrest him, and he tells the lieutenant, he goes, "What is this? Was it Horsemeyer learns that Anna and Sprink left without the German superior assent to entertain fellow French soldiers, and informs them both that Sprink was going to be arrested for disobedience." So at the end, Anna and Sprink asked the French to take them as captives, because they're in France. The French just go ahead and just hide out. In the meantime, all the superiors are getting together and coming to the front, mad as anything. So you'll see the Father Palmer is sent back to the parish, because the bishop ends up showing up and just reprimands him, just tears him a new one, and then goes in and does this anti-German sermon to the new recruits, and describes the Germans as inhumane, and commands the recruits to kill every one of them. Now, Father Palmer hears it. It's just like through like a little drape, and you see him removing his cross, and he leaves. Now, doesn't know if he left the priesthood or anything. You don't see that. You don't see him the rest of the time. He's obviously upset about that, and said it was the best mass he's ever said, because the bishop's yelling at him about saying that mass. In the trenches, the Scots are ordered by their major. You can see smoke coming out of his head. He's so mad. And to shoot this German soldier, he's crossing no man's land to the French lines. And if you remember, during it, you'll hear about this guy that had a clock that went off at 10 o'clock every morning. And someone asked, why does that clock go off? And one of the Germans, because we hear it all the time, what's the deal? And they say it's because he used to have coffee with his mom at 10 o'clock every morning, and he wanted to keep that up. So he'd had coffee in the trench every morning at 10 o'clock. So you see all the Scots are pointing their rifles at him, and then at the last second, all of them, it was about 6, I think, at the time of these yelling at, they point their rifles in the air and just shoot up into the sky. And the major's furious. But then Jonathan, who's bitter, shoots him. And Albert, the French lieutenant, hears the alarm clock ringing because it ends up being his Batman. He was his right-hand man. So the alarm clock falls out. He rushes down, discovers that the soldier is a Panchel, is his name. In his dying words, Panchel goes, "Man, I can't believe I'm going to die in a German outfit." And tells him a German helped him visit it, get home to his mother, who's in occupied France, and had coffee with her. And he tells the Lieutenant Albert that he has a young son named Henry now. And the next thing is Albert is getting chastised by his dad, who's the general, and he tells him, because I wouldn't change a thing. I would have done the same thing. And how dare you guys were telling us how to act on the front when you guys are, sitting in nice places, not aware of anything that goes on out here. And then tells us, he's a granddad, and his grandchild is named Henry. Kind of changes his dad a little bit, and tells him, let's try to survive this war for both of us. Let's try to survive for him. And the last scene is all the Germans, Horsemeyer and the troops, are confined in a train and informed by the German Crown Prince that they are being shipped to the Eastern Front to fight the Russians pretty much the next day. With that, and he tells them, because you're going to go through Germany, you're going through the homeland, but you're not going to be able to see any of your family as you pass through because of this fraternization that you guys had. He takes the harmonica of his horse, Jorge's, I guess you pronounce it, and smashes it, and tells Horsemeyer that he doesn't deserve his Iron Cross. And as the train departs, you hear the Germans humming the Scottish carol they learned from the Scots, "I'm Dreaming of Home." And the movie ends. So it's about an hour and 45 minutes. I never heard of it until some people started texting me up about it and checking it out, and then I started telling other friends about it. They didn't even know about it. So I figured, hey, why don't I just do a little review of it and maybe maybe other people will end up taking a look at it this Christmas season. It's a very good Christmas movie. Shows the power of Christmas in general. But yeah, it shows from the beginning how everyone just, looks at the other one as lower in scum, and, just as the bishop was doing in his sermon, was, talking about how inhumane and commands they all should be dead. That's what they were telling those kids when they were in school. So these kids were reciting these manifestos type deal, and everyone couldn't wait to go kill a German or kill a French or kill an Englishman. So it shows how they, when you get together and hang out with everyone, that you can't shoot them anymore. How are you going to fight? How are you going to shoot the other guy that you're good friends with? You're going to hang out afterwards, and everyone's hanging out playing soccer and singing and drinking together, and now you're supposed to go back in and shoot them like pigs, as Nicholas says and yells at Horsemeyer one time. He goes, "Wait, how are you going to look at these guys and shoot them? What are you going to do? Shoot them as pigs tomorrow?" He goes, you can't do that. So very good movie. Again, it was a fictional movie based on a real event. Look it up. I know there's a sermon that we posted last year on it. It was a beautiful sermon. The movie was a beautiful movie. You might get a tear during it just because just awesome during the Adeste Fidelis. It was a really touching scene. Just one of those great movies that they don't make anymore. I don't think it was shown in the United States. I think it was just in France, Germany, United Kingdom, Belgium, Romania that I've seen. It was a $22 million budget. They made $17 million in the box office. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 74%. The audience gave it an 89%. You can read some of the critiques or critic reviews. Obviously, the audience reviews are way better. Siskel or Ebert, was it Ebert? Yeah, Ebert's the one that's still alive. He only gave it 3 stars. It was kind of funny that I saw one review that told us the priest was an Anglican priest. Yeah, I guess it was a spiritual website. It must have been that guy that just didn't want to acknowledge that I was a Catholic guy. Everything else says Catholic priest, Catholic priest. So, you know, some reviews are better than others. But anyways, yeah, check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. Well, Amazon Videos. If you have Amazon Prime, you obviously get it. It's like $3, $4. I think $3.99 to watch. Runs about an hour and 45 minutes, something like that. But yeah, we'll try to do more of these throughout time. But I just saw this and I told my wife, maybe I got this one guy I watch and he does movie reviews way better than I am at it. Yeah, maybe you'll check it out and get the family together. Again, just watch out for that one scene. Just fast forward through it for about a minute. You'll be fine, and the rest is good. You'll have to read the bottom lines for the French and the German conversations, unless you know French, which I have a friend of mine that probably watched the whole thing and didn't have to use it because he knows them all. I wish I was like him. But anyways, well, thanks for listening. Steve Cunningham, senseofadelian.com, and the YouTube channel. And well, God bless and Merry Christmas.